Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the 361 Degrees Big 3 5.0 Quick Pro. So there's a lot of numbers in that name and the name is a little bit too long. But yeah, this is kind of like 361 degrees, really nice shoe. It's the pro version of the regular Big 3 Quick, right? And this shoe retails for $150, which is a little bit on the expensive side of things, but they do give us pretty good tech, which I think it's a little bit justified. So if you guys do want to cop, try to leave a link in the description box. But let's get it started right off with the Tracciones, and we have a two-piece outsole, which is pretty interesting. You don't really see this design all too much. We have triangles and we have like hexagons, you know, triangles that make hexagons. A pretty interesting design, right? But yeah, like I said, we have a two-piece outsole. Here on the medial side we have a solid rubber, and on the lateral side we have a translucent rubber, right? So I have two colorways of this shoe, and they do perform a little bit different, right? So if you're playing on a clean court, you have amazing stops. This is pretty much top tier traction. I don't know what it is with Chinese companies, but whatever rubber compounds that they're using, most of their shoes have really good traction and amazing stops, which is amazing. I love that. You know what I mean? I feel like everyone wants good traction. That's kind of like a prerequisite. You kind of have to have really good traction for a really nice hoop shoe, right? So this shoe definitely does have that. But in this colorway, this white colorway that I have, because of this translucent rubber, maybe that's what I'm guessing, it does pick up a little bit more dust, but it still wasn't that bad, right? Like I said, it does pick up dust and it does pick it up fairly quickly, but it's a very easy wipe. You know, I do a very easy slight wipe or two and it's good and clean, and I have really good stops again, right? But like I said, I do have another color with pretty much a solid rubber for everything, this whole outsole, and it performs a lot better on dust, right? So my boy Richie and also me, we were playing at the same time, and I was playing with this, and then I was picking up a little bit of dust, but he was actually having a really good time with the solid rubber outsole. And then I tried it with my other colorway with a solid rubber outsole, and it was actually performing better on dust. So I would obviously recommend, if you can, get the solid rubber outsole option if you are mostly playing on a dirty court. But if you're playing on a clean court, you should be fine with whatever, right? As far as durability goes, definitely not the best. I mean, they are saying it is good for outdoor use. I mean, all Chinese companies, they make durable outsoles, right? But I don't know, it's not the softest as far as the rubber goes. The grooves are kind of thin as well. It's not even that deep for the grooves either. So I don't think it would be great for outdoor use. And also, like I mentioned in the first impressions, I thought maybe this would be an issue because it is a two-piece outsole, and you can definitely see the foam pretty much, you know, and you're doing a lot of crazy movements. I mean, obviously if you're playing on an indoor court, I didn't have any issues, but if you're playing on an outdoor court, which is a little bit rougher, maybe you might have some issues with this peeling off as well as like the soft rubber, which probably isn't going to last that long on outdoor court anyway. So not the best for durability for the outsole, but for the most part, I had a really good time playing this shoe because of the phenomenal traction, right? Now moving on to the heel to toe transition, it does feel pretty dang smooth. So here in the heel, we have pretty much a fully exposed midsole, which is this quick CQ Tech foam. It looks like Boost, has a nice compression, it's soft, and with a rounded shape, it feels really nice and smooth in the heel. And then coming here into the forefoot, we got a nice curved shape as well as a little bit of kind of rebound back. Look at that. You know, I feel like that has to do with this plastic piece right here. You know, because the carbon fiber midfoot chain plate, they are using carbon fiber, which is a nice touch, a nice quality, but it looks like it's just in the midfoot, right? That would obviously be good for torsion support, but it's not adding that much to the forefoot that much, you know what I mean? But because of this kind of like plastic cage, I feel like it makes it a little bit stiffer, and there's a little bit of tension when you kind of like bend it here in the forefoot, right? It's still pretty easy to bend, so it does feel really smooth in the forefoot, but when you kind of like bend it, there's a little bit of tension, and then there's a little bit of springiness as well. Of course, it's not as springy as like a full-length carbon fiber setup like the Wild 10, but this still has a nice little springiness to it in the forefoot, which I do like. So yeah, overall heel to toe transition is really smooth and springy, which I do like. And now moving on to the cushioning setup, this is pretty much full length quick CQ Tech foam, right? And that's about it. You know, they're not using any type of other foams, which is not that big of a deal because it's a nice foam, right? So like I said, we have the midsole pretty much exposed here in the heel, which I do like. It does allow for a good amount of compression as well. And then obviously you can see all this caging, and you can definitely feel this cage. You know, when you're kind of like pressing it a little bit, you can feel this cage. That doesn't allow it to compress as much, obviously, and you can definitely feel that. And then on the medial side, it's pretty much fully exposed. So yeah, overall, you do have pretty good core feel. And then for the insole, it's just a regular kind of feeling insole. You know, it's just it feels like a regular Ortholite insole. It's nothing amazing. And then underneath that, we do have kind of like a stiffer strobo board, especially at first. You know, it's kind of like a fuzzy material. It does feel a little bit glued down, but once you break it in, it definitely does get a lot softer, right? And just me feeling it with my finger, it does definitely feel a little bit softer as well comparing to when I first got it. But it's definitely still a little bit stiffer than a soft mesh strobo board. Soft mesh strobo board is just extremely comfortable. But obviously this is way better than like a traditional strobo board, which is like super duper glued down. But honestly, I wish they would have used a soft mesh strobo, right? But like I said, it's not that bad, you know? It's still pretty soft, and once you break it in, it does get softer. So overall step and comfort is nice, but I don't really feel like that much compression. It's not super comfortable when I'm just walking around. I could definitely start to feel the quick CQ Tech foam a lot more once I start going and playing. This actually does feel kind of bouncy, you know what I mean? It's not super bouncy, but there definitely is a little bit of bounce in the heel and also in the forefoot. Impact protection overall is great. So overall, the cushioning setup super duper nice. I would say it has a nice responsive feel to it as well, you know what I mean? If it was a really soft mesh strobo board like the AG4, it does tend to feel a little bit, it's not mushy. I wouldn't even say it's mushy, but I would say, like, you know, if you do want a little bit more of a responsive and stiffer kind of like setup for the cushion, this is definitely better. And obviously you're gonna feel the cushioning setup a lot more if you're heavier. I'm not that heavy, but all in all, I did enjoy the cushioning setup. So there's that. Moving on to the upper. So the upper, we have kind of like this like very see-through material, and it does feel a little bit glued down. It does feel a little bit stiff and kind of flimsy, especially once you first get it. But once you break it in, it actually does get pretty soft, right? And it's really thin, and also very supportive. There's no stretch to it at all, pretty much. And around the toe box, we do have a pretty significant amount of synthetic material, which is actually kind of stiff. So yeah, overall it feels really nice on foot, very minimal yet supportive, and conforms to your foot very well, right? And it also stays extremely thin here in the midfoot. However, it does feel a little bit stiffer and also glued down, like a lot more actually than the toe box, which makes sense. You know, you want it to be a lot more stiff here in the midfoot, and then here on top of your toe box, or like on top of your toes, you don't really need as much support. So that makes sense. Also, around the toe box, like where the laces are, we have this kind of like plastic material, which does stiffen the material up a little bit more as well. On the lateral side, we have the 3 logo, and also on the medial side, I guess, with this reflective color in this colorway. For the tongue, we actually have a little bit of padding, but it's more like on top of the tongue. Kind of like on the bottom, it's not as well padded, but it's like this mesh material, which does allow for a little bit airflow. And then it's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. It also keeps the tongue in place. And then here in the ankle area, we have like an average amount of padding. You know, it's like, it feels pretty plush, feels kind of comfortable. It's not super comfortable or anything, but it's also not super minimal either. So yeah, overall, I do like the material. It feels nice on foot. The only thing I don't like about it is probably not the most durable upper. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's an extremely thin upper, so be careful with that. It also does feel a little bit flimsy, like a little bit glued down, but like once you break it in, and also like once it's on foot, you don't really notice it as much. So there is the overall upper. And also like here in the heel, I do like this. It says all for speed, which is pretty cool, right? Now moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size, and I did like the fit initially, but now that it's broken in, this material does kind of stretch out a little bit. It got a little bit roomier here in the toe box. So since I did go up half a size, I definitely did notice the length a little bit more because it did get roomier, right? I wish I went true to size. I mean, it's not a terrible fit for me going up half a size, but for the most part, I like to have a really like tight fit when I play basketball, right? So I feel like I would have liked it a little bit more for the fit if I did go true to size. So for most people, like if you want a snug fit, go true to size, you know what I mean? But if you want a little bit roomier, go up half a size. I definitely feel like, you know, it's not a huge deal. And if you have a wide foot or a really thick foot, probably go up a full size. So anyways, there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown, I had pretty much zero issues, surprisingly, right? Because this shoe, like the upper is really thin and very minimal, and also this shoe is extremely lightweight, which we'll get into. But for lateral containment, I was pretty much good to go, right? We can see all this caging, right? This caging is pretty much dual purpose. It cages the cushion, and also it acts as a sidewall for lateral support. So here in the forefoot, we can see this plastic coming up acting as a sidewall, and also here in the midfoot and here in the heel, we have an internal TPU heel counter. So for lateral containment, my foot was not coming out of the footbed at all. And even if you're a heavier dude, you should be good to go, right? Also, for this upper, like I said, it's really thin, but there are necessary kind of like synthetic overlays and plastic in place where it actually felt pretty supportive, even though this material is extremely thin. So surprisingly, it's actually really good for support, and lateral stability was good as well. You know, you can see the plastic kind of protruding out here in the forefoot, giving you a wide base for good lateral stability. And I don't really have any issues with lockdown, right? Because of the roomier fit here in the toe box, I did notice my forefoot kind of moving a little bit, but that's because of the roomier fit, and that's because I went up half a size. But for the most part, once I tightened the laces, I didn't have any heel slippage, and my foot felt locked into the shoe. So supporting lockdown is actually really nice. And also, this shoe is extremely lightweight. Like if you guys saw my top lightest hoop shoes, by weight, this was number 5. Like lightest hoop shoes that you can get right now. Number 5, right? Which is extremely lightweight. So this shoe comes in at 11.05 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 10.75 ounces, guys. So average around like 10.9 ounces around, right? So yeah, the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So this shoe, like being lighter than 11 ounces, is really lightweight. Also extremely minimal because of the really thin upper. And like when I was playing it, it felt extremely lightweight, very good for ventilation, which we'll get into. And also, I felt very quick because of the amazing traction, right? So yeah, I felt extremely quick when I was playing in this shoe, and also because of the cushioning setup, which is kind of bouncy. I did like that. It kind of propelled me forward, and also the springiness here in the toe box. So there is the weight there. Moving on to the ventilation, amazing. You know, like I said, this material is extremely thin, so we have extremely good airflow here in the toe box, and also here in the midfoot, and also through the tongue as well. So yeah, it's a really good shoe for ventilation. And moving on to the aesthetics, I like it. I definitely feel like they killed it in terms of design. I do like the incorporation of the 3. You know what I mean? It's kind of subtle as far as like, you don't really know that it's a 3 if you don't really look at it, you know? And also the colorways that are coming out look really nice as well. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, this shoe surprised me a lot. You know what I mean? For 150 bucks, I definitely feel like the material quality could be a little bit better in terms of, you know, like here in the back of the shoe with this, right? And also for the tongue with this mesh material. But other than that, it's a really nice performing shoe. Nice little bounce. The cushion is nice. Stepping comfort is pretty nice. Traction is pretty much top tier, besides it picking up a little bit of dust for the translucent. But like I said, with the solid, it's a lot better for dust performance. The upper is really minimal, but also very supportive. Like this shoe is really nice for support and lockdown. But also this shoe is extremely lightweight. So yeah, I really enjoyed playing the shoe. And also, it's pretty springy as well. So yeah, I mean, for guards, this is an amazing shoe, and this is a really good option, and it's definitely going to be in my rotation pretty loosely. You know what I mean? I definitely feel like, you know, in my personal opinion, there are a couple of shoes that are a little bit better than this shoe, but there's not a lot that's better than this shoe, and I really enjoyed playing it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it to you guys. And also, even for bigger guys, like I said, the cushion's pretty dang nice, and also support's really good. So bigger guys, you should be good to go in this shoe, especially if you want a low cut shoe. But also for guards, I mean, this shoe is specifically made for guards, and for very quick play, this is an amazing option. So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the 361 Degrees Big 3 5.0 Quick Pro. I do recommend it to you guys, and I really enjoyed playing the shoe. Again, if you guys do want to comment, try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.